At Camp David, President Benjamin practices sparring with Mike, his Secret Service agent leading the Presidential Protection Division and a former Army Ranger. The president's wife, Margaret, and their son, Connor, are present, preparing for an upcoming charity event. Mike attends to their needs, demonstrating that he's a trusted family friend rather than just an employee. When it's time for the event, snow begins to fall heavily. Mike quickly assembles his protection team for the president's journey, splitting the family into two vehicles, Benjamin and Margaret in a limousine, while Connor and Mike follow in an SUV. Suddenly, a falling branch crashes onto the first bodyguard vehicle, causing it to slip on ice and block the road. This triggers a series of collisions with the cars behind. One Secret Service SUV plunges off a bridge, and the limousine becomes precariously stuck. Margaret sustains a head injury and loses consciousness. Thankfully, the other vehicles halt in time. Mike and the other bodyguards rush to stabilize the back of the limousine, allowing Mike the opportunity to open the door. When Benjamin informs him that Margaret's seatbelt is jammed, the bodyguards attempt to open the other door, but it's stuck too. The president insists he won't abandon his wife, yet as the car teeters, Mike swiftly cuts Benjamin's seatbelt and drags him out. Tragically, the limousine then plummets off the bridge, resulting in the deaths of both Margaret and the driver. 18 months later, Mike grapples with his lingering guilt. His social life has shrunk, much to the frustration of his wife. Mike now works for the Treasury Department after being removed from the Presidential Protection Team. Lynn, the director of the Secret Service, informs him that Benjamin does not hold him responsible for his decision. He removed Mike because his presence reminded him of his wife's tragic fate. Meanwhile, Benjamin is urgently summoned to a critical meeting. His advisors express deep concern over escalating tensions between North and South Korea, and in efforts to prevent a conflict, Benjamin agrees to meet with South Korean Prime Minister Lee. Extra security vehicles gather near the White House to provide safety during the minister's visit, while Lee arrives with his own team, including former U.S. Secret Agent Dave. At the same moment, an unmarked gunship has been detected near North Virginia, prompting two fighter jets to approach and demand a landing. In response, the gunship opens fire on the jets, leading both to crash down onto civilian neighborhoods. Subsequently, the gunship heads toward Washington, D.C., triggering alarms in the White House. Benjamin and Lee are swiftly escorted to a bunker, while staff and visitors flee the premises. Guards arm themselves and take their positions as turrets emerge on the building's roof. As the gunship nears the city, it unleashes chaos, killing thousands in the streets. Police and military personnel attempt to return fire but suffer heavy casualties. In his office, Mike observes the unfolding catastrophe through the window until he is ordered to evacuate the building. When the turrets start firing, the gunship activates advanced defenses, rendering the attacks ineffective. Amidst the turmoil, cars explode and panic spreads among civilians. Instead of fleeing, Mike opts to assist those in need. The gunship then targets the White House, systematically eliminating guards in mere seconds. At that moment, an American fighter jet launches a missile that penetrates the gunship's defenses, striking it and igniting a fiery descent. The gunship crashes, colliding with the Washington Monument, which breaks apart and falls, taking the lives of nearby civilians. For a fleeting moment, it seems the ordeal is over as Mike approaches the White House to assess the damage. Suddenly, a nearby bus explodes, triggering a chain reaction of car explosions, causing chaos as bystanders scramble to safety. Amidst the madness, Mike notices two suspicious Korean men advancing toward the gate. He manages to shoot one down, but the other activates a stash of explosives, creating a breach in the gate. A group of North Korean terrorists, having infiltrated during Lee's visit, reveal themselves and launch a gas grenade attack on the White House's front yard. Armed with rocket launchers, they cause further destruction, forcing entry into the building. A fierce gunfight erupts between the Secret Service and the terrorists, leading to significant losses on both sides. Dogs are deployed but are gunned down as well. Mike throws himself into the fray, taking out as many attackers as possible as the enemy pushes forward. Suddenly, a sniper begins eliminating officers from a distance with deadly accuracy, but Mike spots her first and shoots her down. Meanwhile, the Pentagon dispatches military reinforcements, but inside the bunker, Dave reveals his betrayal, attacking his former colleagues while Lee's men join him, betraying their mission. A battle ensues, but it's apparent that the terrorists are overpowering the president's team, rapidly decimating his security staff. Kang, the terrorist leader, physically overpowers Benjamin, choking him. Outside, additional trucks filled with terrorists arrive, pursued by police. Amid the chaos, Mike stealthily navigates, reaching the entrance just in time to witness a former friend's demise. Suddenly, Kong orders his men to lie low, prompting Mike to find cover. But the other agents are not as fortunate. When the truck's doors swing open, the gunmen unleash a hailstorm of bullets, quickly gunning down the majority of agents and police. The few survivors retreat inside, rapidly closing the doors, yet the North Koreans retaliate with a missile, shattering the entrance. Mike rushes inside, forced to witness the brutal elimination of 2 fellow agents before he finds a hiding spot to escape the incoming invaders. The terrorists arrive in a second truck filled with weaponry. Meanwhile, a Korean hacker in the bunker gains control of the computers and initiates an external lockdown, triggering fierce gunfights as terrorists scour the building to eradicate all remaining guard forces. At the Pentagon, communication with the Secret Service is abruptly cut off, confirming the White House has been compromised. Moments later, military forces surround the building, unable to penetrate due to the lockdown. Reporters swarm the area, broadcasting the unfolding crisis, igniting nationwide concern. The Pentagon receives a video call from the White House bunker, showing Lee's execution, followed by threats from the terrorists against Benjamin unless the military complies with their demands. With no choice, the Pentagon is forced to concede to Kang's orders. After the call ends, Dave orders Benjamin to raise his hands. When Benjamin defies him, a staff member is executed, compelling Benjamin to comply to avoid further bloodshed. His hands are then bound to a railing. On the roof, the terrorists remove the American flag and dispatch a drone. Meanwhile, Mike stealthily maneuvers through the hallways, encountering the bodies of fallen colleagues. Suddenly, the lights flicker out and Mike bursts into the control room, swiftly eliminating a Korean guard with a series of stab wounds. Seizing the guard's weapon, he stumbles upon a photo of Connor, igniting his fury. Utilizing the secure password, he accesses a safe and retrieves a device, connecting it to the computer. Using his thumbprint, Mike activates an emergency protocol, effectively booting the hacker from the system. Back in the bunker, Kong informs Benjamin that his objective isn't nuclear codes. Rather, he desires to end the civil war ravaging his homeland and aid the civilians caught in the crossfire. Dave feigns loyalty, but Benjamin retaliates with a headbutt for his treachery. Yet Kong commands focus, instructing his men to locate Connor. Shortly thereafter, Mike infiltrates the Oval Office, using his password to open another safe containing an emergency phone. He urgently contacts the Pentagon, where House Speaker Allen has stepped up as the acting president. The military personnel hesitate to trust Mike due to his dismissal, but Lynn swiftly stands in support, reminding them that Mike is their sole lifeline. As he scavenges more weapons from hidden compartments, Mike relays critical information about the situation, including an observation of guards and explosives positioned at various doors, and the ongoing lockdown. At that moment, a terrorist storms into the room, prompting Mike to spring into action, engaging the intruder in hand-to-hand combat, ultimately killing him with a Lincoln statue. Simultaneously, Kong reaches out to the Pentagon again, demanding the recusal of the 7th Fleet stationed in the Sea of Japan and withdrawal of American forces from the demilitarized zone, along with a helicopter for his escape. He warns that failure to comply will result in Benjamin's death. Following Kang's call, Lin is embroiled in a heated debate with military leaders over their next move. They face a peril in rescuing the president and Connor, fearing that troop withdrawal could lead to South Korea's demise within 72 hours. Benjamin resolves to consult with other nations before making a decision. Inside the bunker, Kong coerces the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Admiral, into divulging his personal Cerberus code, now requiring only 2 additional codes to activate the U.S. nuclear arsenal. Meanwhile, Mike informs the Pentagon about a tattoo he discovered on a slain terrorist's body. Alan and Lynn learn that the first Cerberus code has been triggered, with the activation possible only via manual entry on the bunker's computer. Realizing the terrorists aim to exchange Connor for Benjamin's code, Alan instructs Mike to locate and protect the child. Despite the bunker lacking system access, the hacker manages to tap into outdated security feeds and spots Mike moving stealthily. Dave, claiming no threat, reveals himself, prompting skepticism from Mike. Soon after, Kong dispatches his men to find Mike. In the president's bedroom, Mike hears noise resonating within the walls. By the time the terrorists burst through the door, Mike evades capture by slipping into a concealed passage, ultimately discovering Connor inside. As he sends a message to the Pentagon, Kong informs his men about the existence of secret passageways throughout the White House, ordering them to open fire. Mike instructs Connor to run while he retaliates, managing to kill one terrorist as they escape through the corridor. The passageway leads Mike and Connor to another room, where he ensures the surroundings are safe before directing Connor down a shaft. He alerts the Pentagon about which entrance troops should monitor, emphasizing the urgency due to terrorists positioned outside. Eventually, Connor finds an unmonitored escape route concealed by garden foliage, where 2 American soldiers, undetected, evacuate him to safety. The Pentagon confirms Connor's successful extraction, and Alan assigns Mike the mission to rescue the president next. Subsequently, Alan addresses the nation, urging calm as they work to resolve the crisis swiftly. Within the White House, Mike surprises 2 terrorists, overpowering them during a brief struggle before restraining them. As he interrogates the captives, they scoff, prompting Mike to kill one and inflict a stabbing wound on the other's leg to prompt cooperation. The injured man discloses Kang's identity, belonging to a paramilitary group known as Koreans for United Freedom, revealing that 40 commandos stormed the premises, with 28 remaining. Sharing this intelligence with the Pentagon, they learn of Kang's notorious reputation, having been on the FBI's radar for numerous violent attacks, but his true identity had been unknown until now. With motivations rooted in revenge for personal losses, including his father's execution and mother's death due to an American weapon, Khan had orchestrated the bombing of the British embassy in Seoul. Though the American military contemplates action, Lin cautions against intervention due to the precarious lockdown at the White House. Mike advises conducting reconnaissance instead. As the terrorists begin rigging explosives throughout the building, Mike stealthily navigates the hallways. Out of nowhere, Khan taunts Mike via phone, stirring memories of Margaret's death and threatening Benjamin's safety. When Mike reveals he has rescued Connor, Kong doubles down and threatens his wife. As Mike hangs up, Kong sends Dave to confront him. In a fit of rage, Kong assaults the Secretary of Defense when she refuses to reveal her code. Desperation mounts as Benjamin urges compliance with her demands in hopes of survival. Following the Secretary's reluctant admission, the terrorists enter the digits into the bunker's computer, sending alerts to the Pentagon. Downstairs, Mike is startled when he catches a shadowy figure and pins it against the wall, ultimately revealing it to be Dave, who remains oblivious to the mounting tension. Though Dave maintains a facade of loyalty, during their conversation, he unwittingly mentions Kang's name, raising Mike's suspicions. Their confrontation turns physical as Dave strikes first, launching a fight that spills to the ground. Eventually, Mike disarms him, but Dave attempts to retaliate with a knife. In a display of prowess, Mike subdues Dave, stabbing him with his own weapon. Afterward, Alan informs Mike of their dwindling time to avert a nuclear crisis, prompting aerial assaults to commence. Meanwhile, the hacker identifies incoming aircraft on her radar, and ground troops are ordered to prepare larger weaponry for deployment. Mike stealthily enters the cargo room, discovering the terrorists have acquired Hydra 6, an advanced weapon intended for U.S. forces. In a split-second decision, he acts against the terrorists as they move to launch Hydra 6. Although he manages to shoot several of them down, it doesn't stop the weapon from being fired, resulting in a helicopter crashing as chaos erupts. American forces struggle to counter the intense fire, losing several soldiers in the process. In the upper levels, Mike eliminates the last security guard and rushes upstairs, grabbing a rocket launcher. Simultaneously, Hydra 6 targets another helicopter, which subsequently plummets, further diminishing their options. The military coalition is under heavy attack, urging Alan to call for a retreat, but it's too late. As Mike ascends to the rooftop, he fires at Hydra 6, capturing its explosive demise, yet he stumbles and falls through an opening as the last helicopter crashes into the White House, creating a massive explosion that tears through the structure. In the aftermath, Kong telephones the Pentagon, executing the vice president as a reprisal for the aerial assault. He vehemently promises to do the same to Benjamin if the Pentagon fails to acquiesce to his demands within 60 minutes. Subsequently, Alan communicates with Mike, relaying intentions to withdraw troops, but Mike warns against such an action, leading Alan to grant him a mere 30 minutes to resolve the dire situation. Before taking further action, Mike calls his wife, ensuring her of his well-being. He then contacts Kong, announcing his intent to confront him while simultaneously severing communications within the bunker. In a rage, Kong drags the Secretary of Defense toward the exit, preparing to execute her before the cameras. At this critical juncture, a hidden Mike fires at a nearby assailant, causing chaos as the terrorists scramble in retaliation. Meanwhile, the Secretary seizes her chance to escape with military support. With renewed determination, Mike takes aim at the terrorists, systematically eliminating them with precise shots from a sniper rifle until he runs out of ammunition, resorting instead to a close-range attack with a sidearm. However, Just as Kong retreats into the bunker, Alan frets over the balance of power shifting towards the terrorists. With the 7th Fleet recalled, news outlets broadcast the potential for war. Once Kong realizes his leverage has weakened, he prepares to make his escape. Determined not to let this happen, Mike continues to search for Kong within the depths of the White House. His assertions are validated as Mike spots Kong still holding Benjamin captive, using him as leverage against military forces. With the final Cerberus code secured, Kong triggers an explosive set against the White House interior walls, creating a clear exit strategy. But Mike anticipates the scenario, lying in wait, swiftly dispatching 2 terrorists before confronting Kong. A fervent struggle ensues between Kong and Benjamin, culminating in an unintentional gun discharge that wounds the president in the abdomen. As Benjamin collapses, Mike charges at Kong, avenging both the president and Margaret through a fierce confrontation. In a final battle, Mike overwhelms Kong, breaking his arm in the heat of combat. With mere minutes remaining before the nuclear countdown, Mike grabs a knife and fatally stabs Kong. Racing to the computer, Mike follows protocol established by the Pentagon to deactivate Cerberus, preventing a nuclear catastrophe. As dawn breaks, Mike emerges from the building alongside Benjamin, who reunites with Connor while Mike embraces his wife. Reconstruction of the White House will undoubtedly take time, yet a new American flag soon flies above the site. Mike is reinstated as the head of the Presidential Security Brigade.